Everybody, welcome to All Creatures Animal Hospital puppy class. My name is Gabby, and I am the one who typically does our puppy classes on Saturdays from 1 to 3. We do have some people that have previously come to puppy classes that could be watching this, and it's an amazing class. Unfortunately, with everything going on right now with the virus, that we are not able to do that. So it is going to take some new things that we're doing to get the information out there that we typically deserve or say to you guys or give out to you guys. Little nervous. This is my first time doing a Facebook Live, so I apologize if I stumble over my words, so be patient with me, please. But today we're going to talk about just everything to expect with your new puppy. We've got some vaccine topics that we're going to talk about in regards to their health, vaccines that they'll get as puppies into adulthood. We'll talk about crate training, potty training. We'll also talk about nutrition, vitamins, and we'll also talk about grooming and biting, chewing, kind of the differences between those two. We will have some people have the chance to answer some questions and make some comments later on, and I will be trying to look at them and view and try to get all the questions. If I ever miss a question that somebody submitted, you're more than welcome to email us with those questions or comment on there on our Facebook page, but you can also email us at staff@allcreaturesanimalhospital.com. And I can answer those questions for you or personally call you if there's something that I don't address during this video. So first thing we'll talk about is going to be our vaccine and health stuff. So for vaccines for puppies, when you got your puppy, the breeder or if you got them from a pet store, they do have a vaccine history. And we go through that and look and see what vaccines have been done for these guys. So the routine as far as vaccines is going to be 7, 10, 13, and 16 weeks. So they'll start vaccines sometimes earlier with the breeder, but they don't start actually getting the vaccines or actually being I guess the right word is that they are actually working with the immune system after they've gotten all their nutrients from mom and kind of gotten all those antibodies out of their system. The vaccines are really starting to register at 7 weeks. So 7, 10, 13, and 16 weeks is the ideal schedule, depending on when your puppy started getting vaccines and how often the breeder or wherever, was giving the vaccines will let you know when they're due. So roughly around that 7, 10, 13, and 16 week time period. At 7 weeks, you'll get your first distemper vaccine, which is mixed with distemper, hepatitis, lepto, parvo, and parainfluenza. So it is a 5-in-1 vaccine. They get 4 rounds of those vaccines. So they'll get 1 at 7 weeks, as well as their first Bordetella. A lot of people compare the Bordetella vaccine to kennel cough, but it is made of much more different upper respiratory things than just the kennel cough itself. So they actually call it now CIRD, which is canine infectious respiratory disease. Super common for these guys to get when they're little. They're building their immune system. That's why we're giving them these vaccines. And these vaccines, some of them are modified live. So we're actually giving them some of these viruses, just like when it comes to humans with some of our vaccines, to build their immunity to it. So there is a chance that they will get an upper respiratory disease, which is easily treated. So if you do ever notice any coughing or sneezing, we can definitely address that to see what's going on and if we need to treat. But they will get that first Bordetella at 7 weeks, and it is an intranasal vaccine. And then at 10 weeks, they'll get a second distemper and their second Bordetella. And then when they're at 13 weeks, they'll be old enough for their rabies vaccine, and then they do a 3rd round of distemper and a 2nd round of Bordetella. And then they'll finish their vaccines at 16 weeks, which is roughly 4 months, and they'll get their last distemper vaccine. So lots of visits kind of in that first period of time. We also do their fecal float exam, which is done at their first visit. They do get the fecal float. We do recommend doing that even if they have been dewormed, just to make sure that we're not missing any parasites. Super common for these guys to get. They can get it from their mom through birth, and that is the reason why we do start deworming at an early age, and then we like to recheck the fecal. So depending on what those fecal results come back, we do recommend doing a medication called a deworming medication. Depending on the parasite, there's a few different medications that we could prescribe. It is not very common that humans can get these parasites from animals, so it's not something that you should freak out about as long as you're being clean, cleaning up after your baby. It should be fine. The biggest thing is just making sure that they're not reinfesting themselves. So we do talk about that in detail, things to clean up if we do have to prescribe that medication for you. After we do the fecal, so within that first, couple of months that you have your baby, you're in here, about every 2 to 3 weeks, we do the fecal at the first visit, like I said. And then we do start you with a dose of flea, tick, and heartworm prevention. Depending on what we have and the size of your baby, that can rotate. So sometimes we can do Revolution, which is a topical flea, tick, and heartworm prevention. It does only do one breed of ticks, but it's safe for these young guys. Sometimes with the bigger babies, we'll do just Interceptor, which is a heartworm prevention, and then you'll have to get a flea and tick prevention on your own. We do have an online pharmacy called Vet's First Choice, which is really easy to use, and if you are having any difficulties or can't remember the product name, you can give us a call, and our receptionists are more than happy to help you to get that ordered. Whatever preventative that we did start you with, which you can see with your reminders, we do recommend, doing that on a every month basis. So Revolution, Interceptor, and then a flea and tick preventative are all 30-day preventative. So that is something you have to keep up with monthly. It's not just a summer and winter thing. It is something you should do all year long, especially in the state of Georgia. It never gets cold enough here to kill fleas and ticks, so you need to have these babies on prevention. Even if they are mostly indoors and occasionally go outside just for potty breaks, you still want to have them on the prevention. They can still get fleas in the house. When we're outside and socializing and doing things, we can bring fleas from inside our, from outside into inside our home. We can bring ticks inside as well. And sometimes we can, if we ever move somewhere, there could be infestation. Fleas can live for a very long time in different habitats. So whether it be in carpet or furniture, there are ways that they can still travel into your home. So super important to keep on top of these guys with the flea and tick preventative. Heartworm preventative as well is super important. So heartworms are transmitted through mosquitoes. So even though these guys are not outside all the time, mosquitoes can be transmitted and come into the house. I know I have had experiences where you never see a mosquito, but you wake up in the middle of the night with a mosquito bite. So there's obviously a mosquito in your house, and they can transmit the heartworms to your babies, and that's, a very costly treatment. So super important to stay on top of that as well. Once they get closer to 6 months of age, we do recommend a couple different products at that time. One is ProHeart, which is a 6-month heartworm injection medication, which is super great because you do not have to worry about giving that medication on a monthly basis. So you get the injection and you can line it up with your yearly and semi-annual exam. That is something that they can start at 6 months of age, which is great. You also have a product called Simparica, which is a flea and tick prevention. It does all breeds of ticks as well, so you're getting more tick coverage. And that's a great product. You do still have to give that on a monthly basis, but at least it's 1 pill versus 2 pills. But those are our 2 top products. You can continue with Revolution as an adult. Revolution is a great product as well. It just doesn't do as much tick coverage. And there are some other flea and tick preventatives that we could go into. Or if you have a question about maybe a particular product that you may have used with a previous pet a long time ago, and you want to know if that's a good preventative, we can definitely help you and guide you on what preventative would be best for your pet and your lifestyle. Also, in regards to these guys, we do recommend them getting a 6-month semi-annual exam. So every 6 months, we do recommend getting their exam done so that they can get a full physical body exam from nose to tail to make sure everything sounds good, looks good, make sure there's no lumps and bumps or anything that we've missed. So we do recommend doing that on an every 6-month basis, same as what we would do for our doctors. We do also recommend that these guys get spayed and neutered between 6 and 9 months. So at 6 to 9 months of age, whether male or female, small or big, we recommend them getting neutered or spayed. There are some things on the internet where you could read that maybe a larger breed dog, you should wait until they're 18 months of age to get spayed or neutered. That isn't necessarily a factor in regards to their health. It doesn't stunt their growth in any way. It's not harmful for you to wait until 8 months. It does increase the risk for cancers for these guys, which is an important part of us recommending to get them neutered or spayed. So females have the bigger chance of getting ovarian cancer, mammary cancer, and males will have the chance to get testicular cancer and prostate cancer. So the longer that you wait to get them spayed or neutered, that risk does increase, but we can do it at any point. There is no time restriction. There is no change in price for waiting for a longer period of time, but we're here to help educate you and to make the right decision for your baby. It also does help with some behavioral stuff. So for males, if you do neuter them by 6 months of age, sometimes 7 months, it just kind of depends. Sometimes they learn some habits earlier than others, but it does eliminate that factor of them wanting to mark in the house or outside. Outside, not so much of a big thing, but inside, a lot of the time they carry that habit inside the house, and that could lead to having accidents in the house that are not expected, just because they're looking to mark and say that this is their territory, which is not something that a lot of people would like to deal with. So we do recommend getting those guys neutered at 6 months of age, plus some kind of aggression, things that can come with having all those hormones in their system. Females, the same, with them being spayed at an early age. You don't have to go through their heat cycle, which can, leave drops on the floor. It also prevents them from wanting to mark as well. So females do mark, just like males do. So it is super important to get them spayed or neutered between that time period, the 6 to 9 months. At your 16-week visit, when you're finishing your last vaccine, we do go over information about spay and neuter, and we do give you an estimate as well, so you have the cost and everything to be prepared for that appointment in the next couple of months after your last visit. We do require blood work that is done at least 3 days prior to the procedure and up to 30 days prior to the procedure when you schedule. We do blood work just like we get blood work done for our surgeries to make sure organ function and everything is in perfect condition for us to do their procedure, because we want your babies to be in the safest environment and also the safest position to get these procedures done. So we make sure that they get their blood work done to make sure everything is functioning properly. And then we also have a licensed, registered veterinary technician that monitors them during their procedure, as well as they'll get an IV catheter put in so that we can administer drugs. And it is only an outpatient procedure. These guys are their pain tolerance is just amazing. So these guys, it's an outpatient procedure. You bring them in the morning. Our drop-off time is between 7:30 and 9 a.m. You bring them in. We'll get you all checked in for your procedure. Depending on the day, we do surgeries either late morning, early afternoon. So we'll do their procedure. We give you a call or a text with a picture letting you know that they are awake. And then you get to take them home that same evening. But these guys, it's more of the challenge of keeping them calm after the procedure than it is so much actually doing anything to take care of them. It's very minimal care, some pain medication that you'll go home with, but it's just keeping them calm and relaxed, because they do have those sutures for 10 to 14 days, as well as an Elizabethan collar, or the Kona shame as some people refer to it, that they'll have to keep on for after the procedure to make sure everything is healing properly and they don't go to lick it, which can irritate and lead to infection. So we do recommend that. Also, every time that these guys come in, we're always looking at their teeth. Sometimes when they are spay or neutered, we do recommend getting what's called retained baby teeth to come out. So we will talk a little bit more about teething and chewing in a little bit. But as far as the retained baby teeth, what happens is that they have their baby tooth that comes in or is already in there, and their adult tooth is actually pushing their baby tooth out. So they're kind of double teething at this time. And sometimes that adult tooth will go right next to the baby tooth and grow, and 2 teeth will be in one spot. And we do highly recommend you getting those baby teeth or those retained teeth removed while they're under anesthesia at this time, because keeping that tooth in can cause infection. It can cause a lot of different issues, more plaque and tartar in that area. So we do recommend getting that all done at that time. In regards to more health stuff, I had a pamphlet. Oh, it's hidden up here, but we do have a couple of different things for health and wellness while we're talking about this. We do have our wellness plan, which is called our Petly Wellness Plan, and this is a great tool, and I've even used it for my babies, myself, to have everything split up into monthly payments. So when you come in, we can talk to you in greater detail about this for your appointment, but we have these plans from puppyhood to seniors, as well as for cats too, if you have cats at home. But we have these plans which just kind of splits everything up into monthly payments. So it includes unlimited office calls. Anytime you come in, you do not have to pay for that exam fee. We do include all of your puppy vaccines when you're starting off as a puppy, as well as we can include the spay and neuter just to kind of split up those monthly costs so you're not having to pay a big lump sum at one time, which is great, and I love it. We can include the ProHeart injection, so when they turn 6 months of age, we can have that on there as well and ready to go. And it's just a really great tool that we have that really helps new pet parents out, because there is a lot that goes with having a puppy. And, you know, it's just like having a child. So we want to help you in the best way that you can, in the best way that we can help you, so that we can take care of your baby as well. So Petly plans, these wellness plans are really great, and we have them and we can customize them and go into more detail with you too. And if you have any adult dogs at home as well, we can help and get you transitioned over here to us. We also do recommend a couple of insurances. There's 2 brands or 2 companies that we like. So Nationwide is one, which is great. They do wellness and illness, which is kind of the perk of the Nationwide. So they have wellness and illness plans, and you can give them a call and they'll give you a little quote as far as what it would cost for your pup to get started on insurance. Puppy or animal insurance works a little differently than human insurance. So when you do get these insurance plans, the one thing you have to remember is that you do have to pay everything up front, but you do get a certain percentage back. So depending on what plan you choose, you know, some will do 75%, 90%. It just kind of depends, but you do have to prepare that you're still going to spend that money up front, and then 2 to 3 weeks later, once you submit the invoice or the claim, they'll send you a check back reimbursing you for what they cover. But this is great to have for illness and wellness, so that you can get some money back too for the wellness stuff that you're doing in addition to the illness. So Nationwide is a great option. And then we also have Trupanion. Trupanion I love. It's just illness based though, but we are one of their express hospitals. So what that means is when you sign up for a Trupanion plan, you have us as an express hospital. So depending on the plan that you choose, whether you choose a $0 deductible, you can choose up to $1,000 deductible. What happens is if you come in for an illness that's covered by Trupanion, let us know that you have the insurance. We can submit the estimate for what we're recommending as far as treatment, and Trupanion can tell us within 2 minutes if they cover it and how much they'll pay. And then that can tell us, okay, so now you're approved, and all you have to pay is your either $0 deductible, which would be nothing, or your $1,000 deductible, and you pay that to us, and then Trupanion pays us for the rest of the treatment. So it's something good to have. Getting these insurance plans are super important to have before something happens. A lot of people think of it during an emergency situation or when they're treating for something, and at that point it's too late, unfortunately. One, they have to have a waiting period. A lot of these guys have a certain period of time before you can actually start claiming anything while they get your records and get your account established. And also, if you do something or have an issue, whether it's ears or an ear infection or diarrhea, it can also be considered a pre-existing condition, which means that the insurance will not want to cover it later on if your pup ends up having to get that same thing again. So it's super important when they're young, before anything happens, to get those insurance plans in place so that you can have that help when something comes up. Not that we expect it, but there are sometimes things unexpected or things that are natural for these guys to get throughout their lifetime that it would be helpful if you were prepared ahead of time. So as far as wellness, that's really it as far as the plans, the insurance, the vaccines. If you have any questions, we do also have our YouTube channel that has a full puppy talk with this as well, but this will be on our Facebook page so you can rewatch it if I talk too fast for you. We'll also have a question and answer time. I'll give a little bit of time at the end of the video, so if there are any questions I can answer while I'm here, or if you think of something later, you can message us or email us at staff@allcreaturesanimalhospital.com, and I can definitely address that. So the next thing we'll talk about is crate training. So we do have the little crate here for our pups. So biggest thing is going to be talking about how it should be set up. So as far as how things should be set up, which I think we can see it pretty good video, just trying to make sure I've got it all lined up for you guys so you can see how it's set up. So human emotion really makes this hard for a lot of people, and I totally get it, because when I was potty training my Great Dane, I wanted to give him all the cushy blankets and all the pillows and things that I could, because I wanted it to be cozy for him, just like I would want my bed. But that is not the case for these guys when they are puppies, so we do recommend having their crate. So one, you should have a metal crate that has a divider in it, which you can maybe kind of see that there's a divider in here. But if not, there is a divider in there. So depending on the size of your pup, you may have something bigger, you may have something smaller, but it should come with a divider, or you can buy an individual divider if need be. But metal crate, I would set it up somewhere not next to your bed, so we do highly recommend not having the crate right next to you. These guys need a little independence, even if they are 2 pounds or if they're 70 pounds. However big your pup is, they need to learn their independence, and you want to treat them all the same. And it really helps in the long run. This isn't going to be forever. This is temporary. This is just while they're being potty trained. And once they get older, you don't have to use the crate all the time. You can have the crate somewhere else in the house, but it's just for right now while we're going through this potty training, crate training phase. As far as the potty training and the crate training, you also want to make sure, so like I was saying before, we always want to put lots of cushy blankets and pillows in there, but we are going to have nothing in the crate. So as you can see, the crate has just a plastic bottom. There's the divider in here, and that is it. Reasoning for that is because if they have a blanket or a pillow or a dog bed or whatever the case may be, they're going to have this cloth in there, and if they pee or poop, 99.9% of the time, they use that blanket or toy, push it into their accident, and go lay on the hard plastic anyways. And that defeats the purpose of them being taught that it's not acceptable to go to the bathroom in their crate. That may require some more cleanup on your part, which I know is sometimes a real hassle or can be really frustrating, but it's all about the learning. So it's just the same as kids when they're going from diaper to pull-up. When they have a pull-up diaper, it is not as absorbent, and they're learning and kind of feeling more like if they have an accident in their pull-up diaper to start communicating with you that they need to go and use the bathroom. And it's the same concept with these guys. They need to learn how to communicate and also on their schedule, learning their schedule, that they're going to have the opportunity to go outside, and it's not acceptable to have their accidents in the crate. So after you have your crate set up, so you can put your crate in the basement, in the living room, in an extra spare bedroom, anywhere is perfect except for right next to your bed. You're going to have nothing in your crate, and you're going to have that divider up. So the divider should be set up approximately from the tip of their nose to the base of their tail. So for little dogs, it's probably going to be, you know, just a few bars back, and then for the bigger dogs, it may be an extra few bars, but you're not giving them that whole crate. And the reason the divider is important as well is it's the same concept as if we gave them this whole clinic to run around in. A lot of the time, they're going to go pee in one corner and then go lay in another. And it's the same concept as with the blankets and the bedding. They're not learning how to hold their accidents and where it's an acceptable place to go. So nothing in the crate. After you have the crate all set up, you're going to have your baby in there, and whenever eyes are not on the pup, they should be in the crate. So use the crate to your advantage. It's not a punishment. You only teach them that it's a punishment if you make it a punishment, and it's not. We're always going to make it a happy place. Eventually, once they're potty trained, we can take the divider out. We can put whatever beds and things we want in there. Like I said, this is just temporary, so don't freak out. So, other big thing when you're doing the crate training and potty training is consistency is key. So make sure that you have a list and kind of like a timeline for what your typical schedule is. Right now, our schedules are very different than they typically are with school or with our normal work schedules. So the best thing would be to ideally keep it to what your normal schedule is outside of what's going on right now. So if you typically get up at 7 o'clock in the morning to get ready for work, or 7 o'clock in the morning to get ready and for the kids to get ready for school, that's when you should start your day still. Just to keep these guys, because consistency is key, and if you teach them now that you don't get up until 9 o'clock and you don't go to bed until midnight, it's going to be a really big adjustment for these guys when you go back to your regular schedule and you have to start waking up earlier and going to bed earlier. So it's good to get them used to it now, and as they get older, they're going to get adjusted and they'll be able to adjust to schedules differently as they get older, but right now you really have to be strict and consistent. So everybody in the house, you should sit down, write down from when your morning starts to when you go to bed. So in the morning, your pup should be in their crate because they're going to be sleeping in it all night. You're going to get up in the morning, you'll take your baby out of the crate, and you'll take them immediately outside and give them the opportunity to go to the bathroom. Once they're outside and going to the bathroom, or you're trying to get them to go, sometimes it can take 5 to 10 minutes for them, you know, to figure out what they're doing. You maybe need to keep a time restriction, only give them 10 minutes, because these guys are ADD. Everything is new to them outside. The wind is new, the leaves are new, the sun, whatever it is outside that we are used to on a daily basis is brand new for these guys. So we got to get them used to it. So give them a few minutes, let them concentrate going to the bathroom. They should be peeing and pooping, and then you come in and it's breakfast time. We'll talk about food and kind of amounts and things like that once we get into nutrition, but just to kind of give you the basics of what a schedule should be. So then they'll have their opportunity to eat. It's good to keep them on a schedule as far as eating, so making sure, you know, at this age they should be getting fed 3 to 4 times a day. Let them focus on their food. They should be eating their food at one time, not snacking through it throughout the day, because that can cause a lot of crate training issues and potty issues. So after you give them the opportunity to have their breakfast, you should then take them outside again to get them another opportunity to pee or poop before you start getting ready for your day. So you'll take them outside again after they eat breakfast, and I actually have a little example here. Mr. Kooky, the cutest chihuahua. So then after Kooky has his breakfast, we're going to put him back in his cage. And you're always going to want to reward these guys. So always give them positive reinforcement. Hopefully you can see Kooky. We might do a little adjustment. So Good boy, Kooky. And you put him in his crate. And you lock it. And then now is the time to get ready for your day. Shower, whatever you need to do. Because when eyes are not on the puppy, they should be in the crate. So then you get ready. You're about ready to go to work. You're going to take your baby back out. Give him the opportunity to go to the bathroom again before you go. Come here, Kooky. Take them back out. Carry them out to the bathroom. Take them back out. Give them the opportunity to go. And then back in the crate they go. So then your baby can be in the crate while you're at work, at school, wherever your schedule takes you. Even if you're gone for an hour, these guys still need to go in their crate and be in there because structure is super important right now. Every time you put them in the crate and you take them back out, so whether it's for an hour, 5 minutes, 2 hours, you need to give them the opportunity to go to the bathroom. Positive reinforcement is super important. So having a small treat like these little tiny Zooks treats, or we also have the Hills training treats over here. Just something small and chewy is really great for them because it's a super quick response treat. If you give them a big cookie, by the time that they finish that big cookie, they're not going to remember why they got it. So it's super important to find something small and easy that you can keep with you at all times because positive reinforcement is super important. Right, Kooky? You're eyeballing that treat bag. So, positive reinforcement. So if you can, it's definitely really important too to have these guys, if you're able to take your lunch break or to have somebody come on your lunch break to take them out to go to the bathroom and to give them a lunch, that is really important because these guys having a lot of meals and consistency in their schedule is going to be good. And a lot of these guys aren't going to be able to hold it for several hours throughout the day if you work from 8 to 5. There are other options, like if you do a daycare for the day, things like that, to keep them on a schedule. Those are always options, and we do have day boarding here as well, so we can definitely help if we need. And we love taking care of the puppies and getting to spoil them so that it's not a bad thing for us to get your babies to hang out here for the day while you're working. But super important with consistency. So now we're going to fast forward to you getting home. So it is definitely important to not do big hellos and big goodbyes. So when we leave, so if we left Kooky after we got ready for work and we're getting ready to go for the day, we're going to put him in his crate with the treat. So again, positive reinforcement. Put him in the crate. Good boy, Kooky. And we're not going to do a big goodbye. So a lot of people want to be like, oh, bye, Kooky, and make a big thing about it. What you're doing is you're setting him up for failure and you're making him think that something's happening because they don't know how to reason. They don't understand why you're freaking out, why you're crying if you've left them for the first time. Like, all they see is you getting super excited and they don't understand. So it's just, good boy, Kooky, you put him in there. You can also teach them with words like crate if you want a specific word for that. That is perfectly fine as well. So you can say crate every time you're in there or just praise them for being good and going in their crate. So no big goodbyes. And then when you come home, you're not going to do any big hellos either. So, I know we get all excited, we're, home, we get to see our babies finally, we've had a stressful day. We're not going to come home and say, oh, Kooky, you're such a good boy, I'm so excited to see you, because when they're puppies, they're going to forget exactly what they did all day, which was being good and holding it and not having an accident. And that's when they're going to pee or poop before they even get out of the crate and you give them the opportunity to go outside. So, you'll have a treat on you in your pocket. You're going to take them out before you even say hello. You're just going to robotically come in here, take them out of the crate, bring them outside to the bathroom, and give them the opportunity to go. Then once they pee, poop, whatever they need to do, then you can get all excited and give them a treat and say your hello to them that you want to. But it's just not saying those big hellos and big goodbyes because these guys don't understand that. They don't reason like we do. So they just see you get excited and they forget everything they did. So after you get home, you can let them out. So like I said, always have eyes on the baby. So if you don't have eyes on them, you can keep them, you know, get a little baby gate to keep them confined to the room that you're in so they can't get very far. You can get a little leash, a training leash that you can tether to you so they can't get far from you, so they can still have time out. But you don't want to let them free roam and just give them the whole house, because that's when they're going to go. They're going to get into stuff they're not supposed to. They're going to chew things they're not supposed to. They could eat something that could be potentially harmful, or they're going to go and have accidents somewhere that they're not supposed to as well. So super important to keep these guys and keep eyes on them at all time. So after they eat dinner, you give them the opportunity to go back out again, and then you can have some playtime. They can hang out with you if you're just going to relax for the evening, and you're going to keep them up. Do not let them nap. You want to keep them up all up until the time that you're about ready to go to bed. So you don't want to put them to bed an hour before you're going to bed. Reason for that is then they're going to end up waking up earlier than you wake up. So keep them on the same schedule as you. So put them to bed right before you're going to go to bed, but take them outside and make sure they pee and poop before they go as well. So super important to keep that consistency with these guys. And a good schedule, and keeping on a good schedule like that for 2 to 3 weeks is really important as well, because they'll start to get it, and you'll notice that they'll start to go at the times that you're giving them. So another big thing that we talk about is time span. So sometimes dogs can hold it for an hour. Sometimes dogs can only hold it for 30 minutes. But we go roughly based on their age and months. So if your baby is 2 months, it's going to be about 2 hours in between. And if your baby is 3 months, it's going to be about 3 hours in between. But we also have to teach them to hold it. So as babies, they're learning what a full bladder is. A lot of the time you'll notice they'll have a lot of little accidents. And that is just because they don't understand what a full bladder is. They feel the littlest bit of urine and they feel the urge to go. So make sure you're paying attention to their signs as well. Sometimes they'll walk past the back door that you typically go out of. They'll circle in front of you. They'll bark. Little signs like that, they could be trying to communicate with you that they need to go outside, and you need to give them that opportunity to go. Some people have the feeling of wanting to use potty pads, and fabric potty pads I am not a big fan with. I don't see a lot of success. Some people do have success, and that's great. I'm not 100% against it, but for most of our clients or patients, I feel that another alternative that's better is going to be a grass pad. So it's an AstroTurf pad, and they have them at Petco, PetSmart. You can get them on Chewy, Amazon. There's so many options to get them on. And having that as an alternative is great, especially if you're in a high-rise or in an apartment and you can't get down to the grass fast enough to keep them out. So that's super important to have that as an alternative. If you have a patio or a balcony that you could put the grass pad out on, that's great. Make sure that the bars on the balcony are not very open so that the dog could slip out. So if you need to get like chicken wire or something to put in front of it, that's fine, but I just want to make sure it's a safe place for your baby to go as well. But you can treat that just as your backyard. So even if you are up on the 5th floor and you have that grass pad, you can take them out the sliding glass door out into the backyard just like you would if you were in a house, and put them on a leash and get them dressed and get them used to the full routine. Don't just let them free roam out there. You just need a lot of structure at this point. You know, whether you're doing it on the grass pad or you're doing it outside, they should always be on a leash when they go to the bathroom. They got to get used to that leash. I'm sure if you've just brought your baby home, you're experiencing that we're going to put all 4 brakes on, and it's just them getting used to it. So it's weird things, you know, you have to tug a little and just kind of guide them to go find a really fun treat for them. And that's going to be super important to just encourage them positively to keep going with the training and keep going with the leash. And eventually they will get used to it. If you're watching them at home and you're keeping a close eye on them, I do recommend giving them some time to have the leash on them and just kind of drag it around so that they have the availability to just get used to something being on them. Hello. I encourage just to get them used to it. It's the same thing with girls, wearing sports bras for the first time. It's something weird that they have to get used to. So when it comes to the collar, the leash, or a harness, they just got to get used to it. So give them the opportunity to wear those things. A lot of the time they'll scratch at it, things like that. It's just an adjustment for them. Everything is an adjustment. We're throwing a lot at these guys in the first, month that they're home. So in addition to the crate, make sure, so like we said, they're going to be sleeping in there throughout the night. And I'll let Kooky free for a minute. So they should be sleeping in here at night. So when you do that last walk at night before they go to bed and they pee or poop, you'll have their crate in a different room, not next to you in your bedroom, and you'll put them in there for the night. And again, no big goodbyes, so you're just going to put them in there. I would just give them a positive reinforcement, no treat at night, just because having the littlest little snack can trigger their GI system to start going, and that's when you can wake up to accidents. So I do recommend just positive reinforcement, like good boy, give them a pet, put them in their crate for the night, and they can sleep through the night just like we do. So they should sleep through the night, no waking up. You shouldn't wake up to get up for them and take them out to the bathroom, because if you start that habit, they're going to always learn that it's acceptable to go outside at 3 o'clock in the morning. And like me, I don't think a lot of people would enjoy getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning to take your dog out to go to the bathroom. So they can learn to go to the bathroom before you go to bed, and then when you wake up in the morning, and not go in between. They go through a sleep cycle just like we do, so there is absolutely no reason for them to have to get up. If they are waking up in the middle of the night and they're whining, barking, do not praise them by going in when they're having their little fit, whether they just woke up and they happened to hear something and they thought it was you coming in to save them. Let them have their fit, bark it out, and then once they get quiet, you can go in there, peek in there, make sure everything's okay so nobody's gotten hurt, and if they're fine, then you just walk out and you let them go. I know it's hard sometimes in apartments because a lot of people are nervous. They don't want people to complain about them if their dog is barking and having a fit, but they need to get used to that crate and have that time. So if you can practice with them while you're home, especially right now, that's super important. So have them have the opportunity, to sleep through the crate at night, and if they have their fit throughout the night, they just need to wait until they're calmed down, and then you can go check on them. But they're going to have to learn that nobody is going to save them, and they have to wait until the morning when you get up to start your day is when they get up to start theirs. And they will adjust to that really quickly. Also, too, I do highly recommend having them practice some time in the crate even during the day. So even if you work from home, or you're home right now, have them in the crate for at least a couple hours throughout the day. So still have a schedule, and when you're working from home, have that work time, like as if you're going to work, to put them in their crate and have them in a separate room and you go work somewhere else. Just at least for some time to get some independence, for them to learn how to be independent, because we as humans create social anxiety or separation anxiety for these guys. They are not born with it. So if they don't get used to being by themselves now, and you have them next to you 24/7, taking them everywhere, laying on your lap while you're doing work, they are going to learn that they have you 24/7, and when you have to leave them for the first time for, a vacation that you have, or you're going back to work, they're going to freak out because they don't understand how you were there 24/7 and then all of a sudden you're just gone. And dogs, especially bigger dogs, have, been seen chewing through furniture, jumping through glass windows to get their owners, chewing through drywall. So it's super important to get these guys socialized and used to being by themselves now, so that it's no big deal when it comes to the future. As well as socializing them to, men and children, if you don't have any at home, or just having lots of children involved with them playing, other dogs. If you know that those dogs are vaccinated, it's super important to get them socialized. If you got a puppy pack from us, we've been trying to hold back on the paper printing right now with everything going on and handing out a lot of papers. But if you've gotten a puppy pack from us, there's a great thing called a puppy social schedule. in your purple folder that talks about all these things that we don't even think about on a daily basis to get them socialized with, which is a great thing to practice right now, especially if you're still at home and you're social distancing. Also, if you haven't gotten a puppy pack from us because we've been limiting all of our paper handouts and things like that, let us know and we can email that to you as well, or we'll post it on our Facebook page so that you can have that as well to kind of go through and start socializing your guys right now. As far as crate training, I think that's about it, and if I missed something or you have any questions, I'll give a few minutes towards the end of the video to give you some time to ask anything that you have questions about. The next thing we'll talk about is nutrition. So, nutrition is super important for these guys, and there are a few diets we recommend, but the most important is a food that your baby eats, they're growing from, and they're having normal bowel movements, and also you're not breaking the bank. That's really the 4 key points that we want when it comes to picking a diet. There are 1,001 diets out there, and a lot of them are not regulated by the FDA like our food is regulated. So it's really hard because even though you may spend a lot of money on this super expensive boutique brand food, it may not be the best food because there are no regulations on it. So if there's no research or facts behind what they're actually putting in these diets, it's hard to really say if they're being 100% honest. So there are a few diets that we recommend. One of those diets is Science Diet, Hills. We have been giving out samples. We've been, unfortunately, had a little bit of a delay in our ordering. So if you haven't gotten a puppy pack, let us know. And when we get them in, we can definitely try to get you a sample pack. But these diets are easily available at PetSmart, Petco, Chewy. It's not very hard to get. It's not an exclusive thing. But they have a great brand. The reason that we recommend these veterinary grade diets is not because we get a kickback. I do hear that a lot with people saying that, oh, will you guys get money back? I do the food ordering personally, and we do not get that. The reason that we recommend these diets is because there are veterinarians that do research that show that these diets from puppyhood to seniors have the proper nutrients to help your baby grow and be healthy and not have any negative side effects to it, which is the biggest thing that we're looking for. So that is why we recommend the foods. There is a paper in your puppy pack, and again, if I'm talking about any of these papers and you didn't get it, please let us know. We're more than happy to email it, and I'll try to post some of these things on our Facebook as well. But there is a paper called, or an article called Navigating the Pet Food Aisle, and it talks about raw diets, grain-free diets, and it does list these diets as well that we recommend. So Science Diet is definitely one of the top ones. They have a few different varieties too. They have like the puppy bites, they have the puppy small bites, they have the small paws, which is even for our smaller babies like Yorkies and Chihuahuas, and then they have the large breed. So as far as diets, really the puppy small bites or any of the smaller kibble are going to be for our smaller dogs, and any of our large breed dogs like our Great Danes, our German Shepherds, our Labs, larger Golden Doodles, they're going to be getting the large breed. The only difference between these two is that the small puppy bites have more calcium in their diets versus the large breed doesn't have as much calcium, and it's super important that your large breed dog is on a large breed diet because they are growing much faster than our smaller dogs. So they don't need as much calcium, and having that extra calcium in their diet can cause a lot of issues with their bones. So it is super important to have a specific large breed puppy formula, not just an all life stages diet. That's really not recommended. We also have Royal Canin, which is another good brand as well. So they have a lot of different varieties. They have breed-specific ones, Purina Pro Plan, Iams, Eukanuba. Those are all great brands. So if you do decide to transition from what you're feeding now to a different diet, make sure you do a slow transition over a 7-day period. On the back of most bags, it does show you, I think over here, how on the side, kind of how to transition from your old food to your new food. And make sure you're paying attention because every brand of food does have a different serving level. So you may feed a full cup on one food, and then the other food you may only be doing half a cup, and that's just the nutrient makeup in the kibble. It could be completely different, which requires more or less food, which is why, you know, some of these can change drastically. So picking a great food is great. There's a lot of things about grain-free diets. We don't have any proof with animals that they have an issue with grains like humans do. So it's more of a fad that some of these diets have gone towards versus an actual health thing. There are some pets that, you know, do need a specific diet that may have no grains in it, and that's perfectly fine if that's what's recommended by your veterinarian. But to just choose to go grain-free is not a very good decision as far as like for the health of your baby. So recently in the veterinary world, we have seen articles now of dogs having cardiac issues related to grain-free diets because it's become a big thing. And being on those grain-free diets can cause those issues a lot sooner in life than dogs that could be prone to it just by their breed. So we do recommend staying away from grain-free unless you're specifically told by your veterinarian to do so. If you do have questions about a certain brand that you're feeding, of food, you know, you can definitely let us know. Come here, Kilo. Steal my next victim. But if you have questions about a specific brand, if I can speak, that you're curious about or that you're feeding right now and you want to know if it's a good diet, definitely give us a call, reach out, let us know. Hello. And we can help you and guide you. I know this is a lot of information that we have on here, but just, you know, picking a good diet. But like I said, most important is them being healthy, growing, and having normal stools, and it's also not breaking the bank when it comes to diets and things like that. Raw food diets or homemade diets. Raw food diets are really hard. I don't think there's really any benefit to doing it. So a lot of people think because they have a husky or an Arctic breed that's more wolf-like that they're supposed to feed a raw diet. You have to be very careful to make sure you're getting all of the nutrients in there, because feeding a raw chicken breast and some rice is not all the nutrients that these guys need on a daily basis. So if you're going to do a raw diet, which would be just like a wolf would have, do you smell the treats and the toys? Just like a wolf would have, would be get a full chicken, which can be, you know, gross, and putting it in the blender because you need all of those nutrients from the chicken, the skin, the liver, the different organs, the bones, to get all those nutrients that a wolf would get in the wild for your dog to get as well. So raw diets are definitely not recommended or not the way to go for these guys, and it can cause a lot of deficiencies in vitamins and sicknesses and things that it's just not good for your baby. So we don't recommend doing the raw diets. If you want to do a homemade diet, there is a specific website that we do recommend that kind of guides you and helps you and can get different supplements for nutrients so that you're making sure that everything is well balanced, because that's super important. You know, these diets are made already to be well balanced for these guys, so you don't have to do any additional vitamins or minerals or things like that. You know, you can just feed them the food and they're getting everything that they can. Hello. So that's really it as far as nutrition. So we'll briefly talk about just some toys and chewing and things like that, and some things you can practice too at home as far as submission, getting them into submissive positions, because that's super important. So we'll practice these positions first since I have Kilo here. So biggest thing is practicing upside down with these guys. So upside down is a really submissive position and something everybody in the household should do and practice. And especially with these big guys, thank you, while they're tiny, you need to practice with them being upside down to be in that submissive position, because there are some Arctic breeds like Shibas or Huskies or German Shepherds even that can be very bullheaded and need to be put in a submissive position before they get too big, and you can't do that. So practice with them on their back, and it's not just when they decide to do it, it's you putting them in that position. And you can kind of see Kilo's not 100% fond of it, so we're just going to readjust and keep doing it and just keep rubbing him and giving him positive reinforcement for being a good boy. And while he's on his back, we'll play with his feet so he gets used to his feet being touched, because nail trims are going to be something in his future or already in his life. So practice playing with his feet, get him used to his feet being touched, because there are a lot of dogs that we have that have to be sedated for nail trims, and we don't want it to be a traumatic experience. We want it to be a fun and happy experience. So when they're fighting, you just readjust calmly. You don't yell at them. You don't tell them no. You're being handsome. You're being a good boy. And we're going to play with the feet, and then we'll look in the ears. So I'm not going to bother his ears too much just because he recently had an ear infection, but you can stick your finger in your dog's ear, look in their ear, get them used to it, especially those floppy-eared dogs. They're really prone to ear infections, more so than dogs that have their ears that stand up. So get them used to that, because if we have to do an ear exam, have to clean them, treat them, it would be easier if they're already used to somebody touching them and knowing we're not there to hurt them, than if their ears are never touched. We'll also practice elevation while he's fighting with me. So practice with them above your head. It's another way of showing that you're the boss and they're not. And then the other thing you'll do is you'll look in their mouth, play with their teeth. This is great to get them used to teeth brushing in the future. So you can just kind of look in their mouth. And again, in your puppy pack, there's a great thing that just talks about getting used to them adjusting to having their teeth brushed, which is great as well. Yeah. So just play in their mouth. And then the other thing, it's kind of hard to do up here, but we do recommend pulling on their tail, so it doesn't hurt them in any way. But a lot of the time, especially with these cute guys with these long tails or fluffy tails like Kookies, kids, when they are around kids, they see that tail wagging back and forth, and the first thing they want to do is grab the tail. And if a dog's never had their tail touched or tugged a little bit, their instinct is to turn around and bite. So get them used to that. Just tug on it a little bit. It doesn't hurt them. You're not going to break it. You don't have to be rough, but just get them used to that being touched, because that's super big. But those are great things to practice at home when you're relaxing for the night and you're ready to just kind of chill with your baby. Oh, you want to come up again? It's like, where's my treat? Good boy, Kilo. Can't forget the treats for these guys. They know too much. So, we'll also talk about teething and biting. So, always, positive reinforcement again. So, super important for these guys to learn, that skin is not an acceptable toys. Wires around the house, things they're not supposed to chew on is not acceptable. So always have a toy on you. So rope toys are great. You can get some just natural peanut butter to entice them, kind of put in between the creases, as well as like some canned food if you have any. Those are great options to make it taste better, make it more enticing so they can chew on that. So that's great as well. Do you want this, Kookie? And we also have Kongs. Kongs are great toys to keep them busy. So Kongs, you can put some peanut butter in them mixed with kibble and freeze it. That's a great toy that can keep them busy for a little bit. You can put a little bit of wet food in there as well with kibble. So these are great. Stick a few in the freezer to have for the week. And you can give this to them either for during the day, when you're gone for a little bit, or, when you're home, just to keep them busy. And this helps too and keeps their mouths busy a lot as well. So these are great. And they have different kinds of Kongs. Like this one is a Kong tire that you can stick treats in as well. So they have a lot of different options. Always make sure, though, that they have lots of toys. Holy rollers are good. They're great to do with big treats. These aren't quite big enough, but kind of bigger kibbles like this you can put in there. Obviously a little bigger because this one's just going to fall through. But you can do it so that they have to roll this toy around to get those treats out. So these are kind of good games for them to have and to play and to keep them occupied. And it does wear them out too. As far as sometimes they need mental stimulation and get puzzle toys, things like that are always great for them to have. So these are all good options. You know, there's 1,000,001 toys out there, but just always have something on hand so you can redirect. So when they come to you trying to nibble on you or to play with your fingers, you know, you have that toy and like, here you go, let's play with this, and just kind of move forward. You don't want to tell them no, you don't want to yell at them. Same for accidents. If they have an accident in the house, whether it's right in front of you or you missed it, you can't get upset with them. You just have to accept it, clean it up, move forward, and, you know, they'll learn, you know, once they get positive reinforcement and treats and toys for doing the right thing and they get nothing for the wrong thing, they're going to learn very quickly what they should and shouldn't do. So that's why these treats and stuff are really good to have on hand. But yeah, and then as far as noticing the difference between biting versus teething, you know, at this age, they're really just teething more so. So just make sure you have lots of toys, different options, you know, rotate toys out. But as far as being aggressive, it's very rare that these guys at an early age are like that. They're very socialized and they're very, you know, calm and playing around. So if they get a little too crazy and you feel like they're just not listening to you, I think, you know, to me, they get overstimulated and they just kind of need like a reset button and like, okay, let's, you know, go in your crate. So sometimes I'll make it like a happy timeout and I'll just take a toy, give them a toy, or it's the perfect time to give them the Kong and, you know, put them in their crate, give them like 10-15 minutes to focus on that play, and then let them out. You're not yelling at them. You're not telling them that they're being a bad dog. You're just, okay, here you go. You know, it's the same concept as like with a baby. If they're getting frustrated and they're not, you know, interested in what they're playing with, you go and do something new. And it's the same thing. You're redirecting. So that's super important. Rawhides are great too. I do really like rawhides. There's mixed feelings about rawhides. The biggest thing is giving a really big dog a tiny rawhide and them swallowing it whole and choking on it. So there are just regular cowhide rawhides that are rolled in plain white. There's no dyes or anything, that are great for the bigger dogs. You can get them anywhere at the pet stores. Costco and Sam's sometimes have big packs, and those are really great, especially for our bigger guys that are chewing and they're teething, and that can be painful. And then for the little guys, there are like the flat chips of rawhides. There's also products called like Verbac CET chews that actually help with dental, and that all helps, you know, in the future with dental care as well. The last thing we'll just talk about briefly is grooming. So as far as our fluffy dogs, grooming kind of depends on the groomer as far as how early they recommend starting, but they do have what's called a puppy cut, which just kind of gets them accustomed to the grooming world, I guess you could say, and just having to sit still when they're using the scissors and they're cutting them, and get them used to a bath and all of those things that come with going for the groomer and getting their hair cut. So they do have puppy grooms, which is great, and it's just kind of a cleanup that gets them adjusted. You don't want to cut too much of their coat too early because that can cause their hair to grow in different, especially when they're young. But typically around 12 weeks is a good time just to start, get them accustomed to it. If you'd rather just do your bathing at home, using a puppy shampoo is super important. So one that says puppy and tearless, so that you're not getting any shampoo in their eyes. And you can just do a simple bath, you know, at home in your tub and your sink, depending on how big your baby is or how tiny. And just try to really focus on washing from the neck down is super important, just to not get any water in the ears, because any little bit of water that's left behind can cause ear infections. As far as doing ear cleaning at home, you can, if that's something that you'd like to do and have a routine on that. It's not something that's always necessary, and groomers will kind of take care of that on their own. But you can do ear cleaning, and I do recommend using an ear cleaner with a drying agent in it, not one that has a not one that has a water base to it. So that's super important as well. But as far as grooming, that's really it. They don't have, that they haven't gotten to experience a whole lot yet at an early age. So if you have any questions, I am more than happy to answer them. I will see if anybody has any reactions, comments. I'd love to hear people's opinions on how the Facebook Live puppy class went, because I'd like to potentially grow this into doing more question and answers for our clients, especially as our babies get older and that maybe outgrow puppy class at one point or another. So if you have any feedback, I'd love to hear it. I hope I did a somewhat okay job. It's very nerve-wracking to be in front of the camera, even though I do this on an everyday basis, but I hope everybody enjoyed it, and we will look for your comments or your reactions for the video, so please let us know if there are any questions or anything that you have that I could answer. And I think Anna is looking to see if there's any comments or questions. So, okay. Okay, well, I hope everybody enjoyed our virtual puppy class, and we will be doing this every Saturday at 1 o'clock until we get things back to normal, and may still try to continue this on a weekly basis. So let us know if you have any questions or concerns, or there's something that you'd like me to address next time. So I hope you guys all have a great day.